been talking over the last couple of months about ways that Sakura could be reintroduced to the story in Boruto. Now, the reason I've been so excited about the idea of Sakura being re-injected back into the story of Boruto is multifaceted. One, Kishimoto's no longer writing Naruto IP in the form of Boruto, and therefore, if there's ever been a chance for Sakura to get a fair shake at being a good character, Boruto is it. However, it goes further beyond that. See, obviously, throughout the run of Boruto, some of the most important characters and powerful characters from the Naruto universe have either been nerfed, pulled out of the story, or both. And in no case is that more pertinent than with Naruto and Sasuke. However, Naruto and Sasuke aren't the only characters that have been pulled out of the story, as another member of Team 7, Kakashi, has been all but unheard of since Boruto started. While he did have a squabble with the likes of Kashin Koji, that's basically the only time we've seen him do anything even remotely important. And thus, I've been itching to see Sakura re-enter the fold of the Boruto universe. Because in the beginning of Boruto, the novelizations and the anime that is, Sakura played a fairly large role. In fact, in light novels that take place during the Boruto time era, Sakura has been a very pertinent and important character. Whether it was in Sasuke Retsudan or in the battle against Shin, Sakura has been one of the main characters and one of the key movers and some of the most important things that have happened during the Boruto timeline. And yet in the manga content, she's been sidelined. And when it comes down to it, although it's unfortunate, this kind of makes sense. See, Sakura is insanely strong. Her battle against Shin proved that. In fact, her battle against Shin basically proved that Sakura's AP exists somewhere in the level of small planet level, and her speeds reside somewhere in the region of FTL+. Measurables that only really other members of Team 7 and the Inners of Kara have been able to touch in the Naruto universe. And thus, if Sakura was re-injected into the story, it would run counter to basically everything Ikimoto's been trying to do by taking Naruto and Sasuke out of the story, as she would immediately become one of the most powerful people in the universe and therefore one of Konoha's first options when it came down to fighting against big baddies. And I mean that. In fact, Sakura is so incredibly powerful that I've been emailed multiple times over the last couple of months the question, who wins in a fight between Sakura an adult Sasuke with no Rinnegan? And while some of you might be going, okay, come on, let's be real here. Even Sasuke without his Rinnegan is absolutely mopping the floor with Sakura. That may not be the case. See, in basically all measurable ways, Sakura and Sasuke fall into very similar categorizations, and that's kind of nuts. And while for a long time it was very clear that Sasuke was the stronger of the two of them in that relationship, the reason that Sasuke was the stronger of the two of them really boiled down to hacks. And undoubtedly, a lot of those hacks were tied up in his 6-tome Rinnegan. And therefore, without those hacks, the question of who wins in a fight between adult Sakura and no Rinnegan Sasuke is a lot closer than you think. Which is why today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a fight that borders on domestic violence, because today we're talking Sakura versus Sasuke. But before we get to breaking up a household, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you're feeling particularly generous, go ahead and follow my other channel, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime and manga, The Weeb Commander. Or if you want to see me try to bring real-life challenges to the anime world, go ahead and follow my brand new channel that I created with Stephen He, Chris Barnett, and Danny Mata, called Anime IRL. Or if you want to hear me talk about anime and manga, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Taku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime and manga this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, whenever we talk versus videos, before we get into the actual battle, we have to sit down and scale the two characters that we're talking about. Now, scaling either of these characters isn't exactly simple. See, because, well, obviously, Sasuke's got a ton of feats, both pre-Boruto and now in Boruto. Sasuke without Rinnegan has accomplished a grand total of basically nothing. He had a battle against Boroshiki, and then that was about it. Outside of that, the only thing of note he's done since getting his purple eye stabbed out was getting turned into a tree by Claw Grimes. Entities, mind you, that the Jonin of the new gen seem to be able to dispatch of rather easily. Now, obviously, you have to acknowledge the fact that code has to be taken into account here when we're establishing the fact that Sasuke was taken out by a Claw Grime, but still, that's basically all that we've seen from Sasuke without a Rinnegan. So we can't necessarily say with a huge amount of faith as to whether or not Sasuke losing his Rinnegan has seriously nerfed him or somehow made him stronger. And there is absolutely an argument to be made for both sides. Sakura is also in a somewhat similar boat. Sakura's scalable feats as an adult boil down to her battle against Shin and Sakura Hiden. But Sakura Hiden, mind you, by the time of Two Blue Vortex, happened about 20 years ago. It's a blank period light novel, meaning that's a very different Sakura than the Sakura we're talking about now. And thus, really, when it comes down to it, if we want to scale how powerful adult Sakura is, really all that we have is her battle against Shin, which is a good indicator of her current strength. And therefore, as we do have a somewhat good indicator for how strong adult Sakura is through the Shin fight, let's start off by scaling her. Even if we want to go way far back in time and talk about the 4th Great Shinobi World War, Sakura has always been incredibly strong. In fact, by the time that the 4th Great Shinobi World War came around, Sakura was at island level AP, as Hashirama himself, who is probably one of the greatest censors of strength in the entirety of the Naruto universe, said that there's a fair shot that Sakura is stronger than Tsunade. He also stated that her strength of 100 seal would give her a greater boost in strength because she doesn't redirect any of the chakra of the strength of 100 seal to make herself look younger. On top of this, at the beginning of the 4th Great Shinobi World War, KCM1 Naruto, EMS Sasuke, and strength of 100 Sakura were all said to be comparable to each other in strength. Now, well, obviously, Sasuke got the Rinnegan, Naruto got KCM2, they both got buffs from Hagoromo. Prior to those series of buffs that they needed to get stronger than Madara and Kaguya, Sakura was stated and implied to be comparable to them in strength. Island level is very impressive. However, Sakura, like all of the characters from Naruto, did not stop there. See, the blank period was good to Sakura, as good as it was to everybody else, which is why Sakura was able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Shin Uchiha. Now, for those of you saying, well, Shin Uchiha's anime only, no, he's not. He comes from the novelizations, and the novelizations are equally as canon as manga IP. Now, Shin and Sakura technically fight twice. First time that Sakura ever pulls up on Shin is after Shin has basically backed Sasuke and Naruto simultaneously into a corner. While you might be saying, oh, but Shin was threatening their children, and therefore Sasuke and Naruto couldn't fight at their full power.
On top of this, he surprised Naruto and Sasuke, and they didn't know how his abilities work.
Yeah, all of that's fair. I'm not saying Shin Uchiha is stronger than Naruto and Sasuke combined. However, surprise feat or not, protecting their children or not, Shin Uchiha was able to not only hurt Sasuke, but also Naruto, implying that Shin Uchiha has an AP high enough to break past the durability of two of the strongest characters in the entirety of the Naruto universe. Two characters who are frequently said to be comparable to each other in strength and therefore have a durability somewhere in the region of small planet level, which, whether you like it or not, means that Shin Uchiha's ability to injure them not only once, but twice, at least in the case of Sasuke, means that Shin Uchiha's AP falls in the region of small planet level. And as AP and durability usually equal the same thing because every action has an equal and opposite reaction, this means that Shin Uchiha's durability also falls somewhere in the region of small planet level. And Sakura has injured him not once, but twice. Because after Shin gets the drop on Naruto and Sasuke, riddling them with blades and a sword through the tummy, Sakura flies out of nowhere and, in base form, mind you, levels out Shin Uchiha with one punch, incapacitating him. She then, after being taken hostage by Shin because he was greatly injured from the battle he had against her, once again battles against Shin in his Monkey-Kyo Sharingan-controlled arm. And while Naruto and Sasuke did dispatch to go try and save Sakura, Sasuke, on the way to go save Sakura, stated that there's a fair chance that Sakura would have Shin defeated by the time they got there. And while Sasuke does fly in to save the day in the battle against Shin, really all that he does is fly in, break up the fight temporarily, get stabbed by Shin Uchiha, change positions with Sakura, and then Sakura deals what is effectively the fatal blow. But this is the second time that Shin Uchiha managed to injure Sasuke. And while obviously he did it by punching through a little mini Shin Uchiha, something that Sasuke didn't see coming, nonetheless it shows that the Shin Uchiha has the AP to punch through the durability of base Sasuke, whose durability should be comparable to base Naruto, whose durability is at least moon level. Mind you, on top of this, Shin Uchiha is now speed blitzed, in a sense, Naruto and Sasuke twice. And as Naruto and Sasuke are both very comfortably FTL plus with FTL plus reaction times, this means that Shin Uchiha's speed must also fall under the categorization of FTL plus, and Sakura was able to keep up with him with relative ease, implying to us that Sakura's speed is FTL plus. And I don't want to spoil the scaling of Sasuke, but for both AP and speed, that's basically where he lies. But enough about durability, speed, and AP. Let's talk about Sakura's hacks. If we're gonna be entirely real, Sakura's bag of hacks is not that deep. She's like an MMORPG character that you dumped all of the stats into strength and stamina for. And therefore, when it really comes down to it, that's kind of all she's got. See, Sakura obviously has the strength of 100, a seal that allows for Sakura to store away tiny bits of chakra every single day to be accessed on a rainy day. And the seal allows for Sakura to access a mass amount of power that she can use to either make herself stronger, faster, or heal better. See, because Tsunade taught Sakura how to use the strength of 100 seal with Creation Rebirth to allow mass amount of instantaneous regeneration through the medium of the mass amount of chakra that both Tsunade and Sakura are able to tap into. This is to say that Sakura has a massive chakra accessible to her that can only actively be compared to one other person's chakra pool, and that's Naruto's, or Tsunade's, I guess. Because Karin Uzumaki, after being bit by Tsunade, was knocked unconscious. However, the chakra that Tsunade was able to pull from Karin, a full-blooded Uzumaki, mind you, was enough to refill Tsunade's strength of 100 seal. Now, mind you, it was Hashirama who told us that Sakura's strength of 100 seal is probably stronger and therefore holds more chakra than Tsunade's. And therefore, we can assume that Sakura has access to more than Karin Uzumaki's chakra levels of chakra in her strength of 100 seal. And this would make sense when we consider the fact that we were told it took 3 years for Sakura to fill her strength of 100 seal, and she hasn't used it, mind you, in years. Now, the strength of the 100 seal and Creation Rebirth are two separate things. The strength of 100 seal can simply be used to make the person using it stronger and faster. However, if you use it simultaneously with Creation Rebirth, you increase the mitotic regeneration of your own cells to the point where any injuries you incur, they will immediately be healed. Now, this does shave away at the user's lifespan because cells aren't regenerated, they're just replaced, but it does mean that the user of this technique is effectively unkillable until they run out of chakra. Tie that into the fact that the strength of 100 seal is necessary to summon Lady Katsuyo, an entity on its own that was able to heal thousands of people simultaneously and bring the two bisected sections of Tsunade back together and heal her back to full health. And in the circumstance of this 1v1, Lady Katsuyo is singularly focused on healing Sakura. Now, obviously, the combined efforts of Sakura and Tsunade in the 4th Great Shinobi World War were only able to summon 10% of Lady Katsuyo, but it's probably safe to assume that nowadays Sakura as an adult could summon 10% of Lady Katsuyo, which is important because Sasuke's got summons as well. And while Alba is definitely no Manda and or Manda 2, without a response against the likes of Alba, it's not gonna look good for Sakura. Now, fortunately for Lady Katsuyo and Sakura, Lady Katsuyo can fight back. She as a summon is not entirely restricted to healing. She has multiple times been shown attacking either other summons or enemies. She's not only able to use her massive body to battle against other massive summons, but should she ever be constrained by something like Alba or Manda in a ringing, binding coil, Lady Katsuyo is able to turn her body into millions of smaller versions of herself and reconstitute herself with really no drawbacks. And therefore, taking out Lady Katsuyo is a lot harder than taking out other summons, especially if she's locked in a battle against other very large summons who can really just try to crush her. On top of this, as Lady Katsuyo is able to split herself into millions of tiny versions of herself, you dedicate 1, 2 to 100 tiny little mini Katsuyos to heal Sakura while Lady Katsuyo was battling against the likes of Alba. See, because here's the thing about the three-way deadlock. Lady Katsuyo has always and will always be the strongest summoning. Yes, she may not be as offensively focused as the toads of Mount Mubuko or the snakes of Ryuchi Cave, but we've only ever seen 10% of Lady Katsuyo. And while she may not be as offensively focused as the other two sage animals, she's the only one out of all of them that can heal and attack simultaneously. So in the summoning category, Sakura actually has a pretty clear edge. Now, yes, Alba isn't Sasuke's only summoning. He also has his hawk, which presents actual problems for Sakura as she has no ability to fly. But Sakura's strength is such that she's able to rip gigantic concrete columns out of a cave and toss them with little to no effort at enemies, like she did in the battle against Shin. And if she's able to cleanly rip out these columns, which weigh millions of pounds, and throw them at hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of miles per hour, if not millions of miles an hour, mind you, because she does, after all, hit Shin with this column, and Shin, like we've established, is an FTL character, then I believe that adult Sakura has it in her bag to jump after a hawk. Now, outside the strength of 100 seal and mitotic regeneration, Sakura's bag doesn't go much deeper than Lady Katsuyo. She can use Earth, Water, Fire, Yin, and Yang release, but we've only ever seen her use Flame release one time in a novel, and we've only ever seen her use Genjutsu once, also in a novel. So really, when it comes down to it, Sakura isn't going to be banking on her elemental chakra releases to win this fight. However, even though she doesn't have a ton of offensive options, Sakura is effectively immune to Genjutsu, which is very important in a fight against somebody with a Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, mind you, this won't be the first time that Sakura has battled against somebody with a Mangekyo Sharingan. Sharingan as she battled against Shin, who had a Mangekyo Sharingan. And while we don't know all the ins and outs of Shin's Mangekyo Sharingan, we do know he had access to a ton of Sharingan and never once tried to use genjutsu on Sakura. And this makes sense because the only time that we've ever seen Sakura since the 4th Great Shinobi World War placed under genjutsu was through the medium of a Rinnegan, specifically Sasuke's 6-Tomei Rinnegan. And while we could probably make the argument that this was just to show us some of the new abilities of Sasuke's 6-Tomei Rinnegan, I would reckon that the reason that Sasuke used the genjutsu of the Rinnegan and not the genjutsu of his Sharingan was because he knew the genjutsu of the Sharingan wouldn't be enough to place Sakura under genjutsu. And mind you, that was in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. Sakura has only gotten stronger since then. In fact, she was the only reason that Naruto and everybody else who was trying to make it to the moon in Naruto the Last was able to get there because she's immune to genjutsu. And thus, I feel pretty confident when I say that any genjutsu that Sakura would try to launch at Sakura through the means of his Mangekyo Sharingan wouldn't be good enough to place her under genjutsu. So crazy as it sounds, in this battle between husband and wife, genjutsu is not a factor we should take into effect. Since we are talking about husband and wife, maybe we move off the wife and talk about the husband. Pretty much everything we've seen from Sasuke points towards the fact that he is stronger than Sakura. But mind you, all of these feats that we saw happened while Sasuke had the Rinnegan, something that he used rather heavily. And while we could absolutely dive into Sasuke in the 4th Great Shinobi World War and all the feats that he was able to pull off and scale how powerful he was back then, we have enough from Sasuke in the Boruto timeline to scale him accurately. See, Sasuke during the Boruto timeline, either in the manga, the anime, or in novels, has multiple times been said to be Naruto's equal. This was stated in Shikamaru Shinden, Sasuke Retsudan, Saikyo Jump, the bonus ninjutsu directory, and the Boruto novel guidebook. And pretty much everything that Sasuke's done during Boruto's timeline backs up that point. Sasuke, in the very beginning of Boruto, was able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Momoshiki and Kinshiki simultaneously. And while he was forced to retreat, he was able to hold his ground for a fair amount of time, longer than anybody not named Naruto would have been able to do so. On top of this, Sasuke multiple times was able to injure a fused Momoshiki, and also deflect and or parry his attacks, like his Takeru no Mikoto. But this isn't where Sasuke's impressive feats stop. See, Sasuke in the first fight between Naruto, Jigen, and Sasuke is the only person between Naruto and Sasuke who lands a blow on Jigen. And the blow that Sasuke lands on Jigen not only sends him flying back, but also draws blood from it. And thus it was established through this and multiple other times that Sasuke was a threat to Karma Jigen. It's only confirmed by the fact that Karma Jigen has to retreat from Sasuke and has to block Sasuke's sword with one of his black chakra receivers. And even after Ishiki is eradicated with the combined efforts of Naruto, Sasuke, Boruto, and Kawaki, Ishiki, after getting a surprise jump on an already compromised Sasuke and stabbing out his Rinnegan, views Sasuke as a massive threat. As the two of them fight on equal grounds, even after Sasuke spent the last 30 minutes getting kicked around like a soccer ball by Ishiki. Mind you, without his Rinnegan, and therefore this is really the only way we have to scale Sasuke without his Rinnegan, because it's the only fight he's ever in that we see. And thus it appears as though no Rinnegan Sasuke still scales to Boroshiki, which is very impressive, as Boroshiki was enough to one-tap the likes of Boro, an inner of Kara, who was said, though not necessarily shown, to be stronger than Delta. Now, speed-wise, Sasuke is comparable to Naruto in speed and reaction time, and therefore he's FDL+. He's shown to be able to react and block attacks from fused Momoshiki and Jigen, and so he should be placed in the same categorization as Naruto. And durability-wise, Sasuke also falls into the small planet level. He's taken blows and survived from both Kinshiki and a fused Momoshiki. He multiple times took chakra rods and blows from Jigen and Ishiki and got back up, and while his Susanoo fell in the face of Jigen's first attack, the fact that he was able to survive attacks from Jigen, though his Susanoo wasn't, kind of proves that Sasuke's base durability is actually higher than that of his Susanoo. See, because even though the Susanoo is referred to as the perfect defensive technique, that's mostly just because it stops Sasuke from having to tank any of the attacks himself. But this means that the durability of the Susanoo is probably less than that of small planet level, probably coming in somewhere closer to moon level, which would make sense because Ishiki, Jigen, and Delta are really the only ever bad guys in the entire existence of the Naruto timeline that have had an AP of small planet level, and nobody previously to Jigen and Ishiki was able to break through Sasuke's complete Susanoo. But Sasuke's Susanoo durability being somewhere in the region of moon level is interesting because Sakura's AP is higher than that, and therefore there is surprisingly an argument to be made that Sakura could do something somewhat comparable to what Jigen did to Sasuke's Susanoo. But that water is muddy because we really don't know the upper limit of Jigen's AP. We just know he was able to beat down Naruto and Sasuke Sasuke rather consistently, but because they were able to bounce back for some of the attacks, he's usually lowballed as small planet level and highballed as just planet level. But I do genuinely believe the fact that the Susanoo was unable to tank Jigen's attacks when Sasuke was able to tank Jigen's attacks proves that the Susanoo has a lower durability than Sasuke. But when it comes down to it, Sasuke's AP is small planet level, his durability is small planet level, his Susanoo's is somewhere around moon level, and his speed is FTL+. But unlike with Sakura, Sasuke's bag is quite deep. Sasuke can use every kind of elemental release: earth, wind, fire, lightning, and water, yin and yang. I forgot about water, which is insane considering the fact I drink a gallon of it every day. However, yin release isn't going to be much of a factor in this battle against Sakura, because yin release is genjutsu, and like we've established, he's not going to be able to use genjutsu against Sakura. However, the combination of having yin-yang release and all 5 elemental releases has allowed Sasuke to do some pretty kooky things. Like, oh, I don't know, bring ice release back to life? As Sasuke, through the power of yin-yang release and by combining wind and water release, is able to create ice release. Now, not the level of Haku or even Haku's clansman, but Sasuke is able to use ice release. Now, Sasuke isn't going to have heavenly hand power or the ability to open dimensional rifts or any of the abilities of the Rinnegan, but he does have all of the abilities of the Sharingan. And yeah, we're going to be assuming he has all of the abilities of the Sharingan, because even though technically, if I was writing the story, Amaterasu should have been in Sasuke's 6-tome Rinnegan eye, in the immediacy of having his Rinnegan stabbed out of his skull, Sasuke uses Amaterasu at Boroshiki. However, Sasuke's right eye, the eye that contains his Sharingan, was supposed to be his Kagutsuchi eye. And so Sasuke being able to use Amaterasu out of his right eye seems to imply that he has both Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi in that eye. And if he still has access to both of his MS abilities, that seems to imply that he still has his Susanoo. Or at least it should imply that. I mean, we've seen Madara use his Susanoo with no eyes, and therefore it's safe to assume that Sasuke can use his with one. On top of that, Sasuke's got access to all the things that a base Sharingan gives you: analytical prediction, information analysis. That is to say that Sasuke, using his Sharingan, is able to read somebody's movements and predict exactly how they're gonna move before they do it. Some kind of future sight. In fact, in Naruto chapter 230, we see that a fully mature Sharingan is able to see future images of how somebody is gonna move so they can react to it before it even happens. On top of this, Sasuke, through the power of his Sharingan, is still able to mimic the movements and techniques that he sees while his Sharingan is activated. Now, this doesn't necessarily work against Sakura because, like we established, she doesn't use that much in the way of elemental ninjutsu. She doesn't use genjutsu, and her taijutsu is hardly taijutsu. It's just big old punches. And while the Sharingan allows for movements to be copied, it doesn't steal the strength of the user. On top of this, the Sharingan can't allow you to use techniques that you just don't have access to, like the strength of 100 seal. So the information analysis and the power mimicry that Sasuke gains access to through the usage of the Sharingan doesn't really mean anything in a battle against Sakura. And thus, really, when it comes down to it, Sasuke's hacks boil down to Amaterasu, Kagutsuchi, the Susanoo, and his summons, Garuda and Alba. Oh, and he can fly with his Susanoo and Garuda. And with that, that's basically everything we need to know about the scaling of Sakura and Sasuke. So let's get into it. Who between this married couple comes out victorious? Well, here's the thing. Like we established, genjutsu is not something we're going to be taking into effect in this battle. Sasuke no longer is able to wield genjutsu powerful enough that they would affect Sakura. And therefore, for all of you at home who are going, oh, Sasuke would just place Sakura under genjutsu and this fight would be over immediately, like you do anytime somebody from outside the Naruto universe is proposed to fight against characters inside the Naruto verse, that's not the case. Sasuke can't use genjutsu that would work on Sakura. So that's one of Sasuke's hacks taken care of in this battle. But then the logical retort to hearing that genjutsu wouldn't work is saying that Sasuke could use things like Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi. And yes, you're right, he could use those things. However, it's not entirely clear to us yet if Sasuke's able to use Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi simultaneously with just one eye. But let's consider both scenarios, both that he can use them simultaneously and both that he can't. Amaterasu has been reacted to and dodged and or blocked by people that are slower than Sakura. The fourth Raikage, when battling against Sasuke, when he pulled up on all of the Kage, was able to react to a point-blank Amaterasu. Now, some of you are probably saying, but Nick, with his lightning cloak is one of the fastest people in the entire universe. And yes, you would be right. Using his lightning cloak was comparable to the likes of Minato or even KCM2 Naruto. Well, probably closer to KCM1 Naruto. But Sakura, by the time that she's an adult, is relative to the likes of base Naruto and Sasuke in speed, which means that she's probably faster than was in this battle against Sasuke. But the list doesn't end there. MS Sasuke in his battle against Itachi was able to dodge Amaterasu. Gyuki in his battle against MS Sasuke was able to block Amaterasu. Borushiki in his battle against Sasuke was able to react to Amaterasu and create a shadow clone to jump in front of it. And while some of these people like Borushiki are comparable to Sakura in speed, everybody else on this list is slower than Sakura. And so while there is absolutely a world in which Sasuke would be able to catch Sakura with Amaterasu, if Sakura's not being caught by surprise, there's a fair chance she's able to dodge it, or at least block it. And that's where Sakura's strength comes in. See, because if we're assuming that Sakura's using the strength of 100 seal and mitotic regeneration while battling against Sasuke, which she should be, so long as Sakura was able to block Amaterasu, she'd be able to lop off whatever it hit and regenerate it instantaneously. Mind you, Sakura has literally regenerated an entire arm in an instant. And thus, even if Sakura were to be hit by Amaterasu, she probably wouldn't die from it unless it got her somewhere in the torso or the head. And even if it got her in the torso, since all of the chakra of the strength of 100 seal is kept in the head, so long as the head remains intact, Sakura would be able to regenerate. Now, regenerating an entire body would probably take much more time and would probably give Sasuke an opening to just stab her head. Ironically, Amaterasu also doesn't really work against Lady Katsuyo, Sakura's summoning. See, because even though Lady Katsuyo is definitely not fast enough to dodge Amaterasu, she could simply just split off the part of her that was hit by Amaterasu into a bunch of smaller parts, and then have those burn and have the main body be fine. And while this wouldn't be fun for Lady Katsuyo, she'd survive. And thus, the real question really boils down to, could Sakura punch through a Susanoo? And unfortunately, there's really no way for me to tell you a concrete answer. See, the only real time that we've ever seen a Susanoo punch through is when Tsunade did it in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. See, Tsunade, who by the time of the 4th Great Shinobi World War had an AP around island level, was able to punch through Madara's Susanoo ribcage. But the Susanoo ribcage is the lowest level of the Susanoo. However, this doesn't mean that Tsunade doesn't have other Susanoo-based feats, as Tsunade was able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of a Madara clone who was using a Susanoo, and a full-body Susanoo, mind you. Now, these full-body Susanoos that the clones were using weren't as strong as Madara's real full-body Susanoo. However, they were full-bodied Susanoos, massive chakra entities that were supposed to be the perfect defensive mechanisms. And while Tsunade wasn't punching through these like she did with Madara's ribcage, we do see her at one point take one of these Susanoos and flip it onto its back. We also see her break several Susanoo weapons, which seems to imply, with enough time, Tsunade probably would be able to break through one of Madara's clones' full-body Susanoos. But you're probably saying to yourself, Nick, what does this have to do with Sasuke and Sakura's fight? Well, Madara's clone's full-body Susanoos may not have been as big as his, and while some of you might be saying that a shadow clone is weaker and slower than the main body, that second fact is not true. The shadow clone isn't weaker or slower than the main body. It has access to less chakra and a much, much lower durability, but they're not weaker in terms of AP or speed. Now, you might be making the argument that splitting chakra into fits to have 4 shadow clones makes not only the shadow clones, but the main body weaker because they have access to less chakra. But when you're talking about proverbial chakra banks like Madara or Naruto, having a 5th of the original body's chakra isn't that much of a nerf. It's still probably more chakra than 99% of people have access to. And therefore, while the stamina and durability of shadow clones might be lower than the original body, the AP in the speed is not. And the durability issue isn't an issue if your shadow clones have the ability to use the Susanoo, as you gotta punch the Susanoo to do any damage to them in the first place. And thus Tsunade at island level being somewhat equal to Madara's full body Susanoo, at least on that of a clone, confirms in some sense that there is a way to raw power your way through a Susanoo. So could Sakura punch her way with small planet level AP through Sasuke's full body Susanoo? Maybe, but definitely not at the same level that Jigen did. See, I believe that Sakura, just like with Tsunade battling against one of Madara's clones, with enough time would be able to break through the iron defenses of a full-body Susanoo. But is that enough? Well, when it comes down to it, unfortunately, no. See, while yes, Sasuke and Sakura have comparable AP, durability, and speed, their stamina is also, nowadays, probably comparable. See, there is no reason for us to assume that Sasuke has any less stamina than peak power Madara. And mind you, peak power Madara was able to battle against Hashirama for 24 hours with his MS activated the entire time. And on top of that, he had to activate 2 MS. Not just one. Tie that into the fact that Sasuke is definitely more powerful than Madara and therefore definitely has greater stamina, even though he's always out of chakra. But the reason he's always out of chakra ties back to his Rinnegan, and much in the same way that Kakashi's chakra pool got substantially more massive after the loss of his Sharingan. It's safe to assume because Sasuke no longer has to worry about the constant chakra drain of a perpetually activated Rinnegan, that Sasuke's chakra pool is comparable to that of both Naruto and Sakura's. And while some of you are probably at home saying, but a lot of the techniques that he'd be using winning this battle against Sakura would be more chakra depletive than anything Sakura was using, that's not necessarily true, because the mitotic regeneration of creation rebirth uses a ton of chakra. And as much as I hate to admit it, Sakura would be dying a lot in a battle against Sasuke, and so she would need to be constantly healing herself and regenerating lost limbs. And so when it really boils down to it, as crazy as it sounds, I genuinely believe Sasuke wins in a long, protracted, stamina-based battle. But the fight is a lot closer than a lot of people give it credit. I would say that if Sasuke and Sakura were to fight 10 times, Sasuke would only win 7 to 8 of those times. And really the only reason I feel that way is because when it comes down to battle experience, Sasuke just has way more. While Sakura is undoubtedly smarter than Sasuke, his battle IQ was higher than hers. And so, in a head-to-head between Sakura and Sasuke with no Rinnegan, unfortunately, our victor is Sasuke. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. In this head-to-head, do you have a different winner? Do you have a reason that Sakura would come out victorious, or is Sasuke the right person to win this? Tell me in the comments below, and while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Listen, I just hope they get along and have a happy marriage. I hope it never comes to blows.